In Chapter 10, Kaplan and Graham go into what makes an online course functional, accessible, and reusable. Overall, I thought it was an awesome chapter. I really enjoyed reading about how the online course has morphed over the last 20 years, going from something that was primarily text-based to something that is much more dynamic and repurposeful and reusable. So what actually goes into making the online course, per the authors? First and foremost, sound pedagogy. Not only do they mention the 7 principles for good practice in higher education, they also add 5 more specifically for the online course, including tolerance for ambiguity, using scaffolding principles, using problems that require students to understand and manipulate content, creating opportunities for high levels of interaction, and integrating formative assessment throughout the course. So why? Why do they think these 5 are so important, especially in an online environment with digital natives? The goal here basically cites connectivism, and that is to promote active learning that resides in control of the student and leads to development of higher order thinking skills. They definitely hit the nail on the head there with the digital natives. Secondly, the authors talk about how a team of 5 is needed to get this massive project off the ground. All right, so what is our team of 5 here? Well, the subject matter expert. He or she is the professor, the teacher, passionate about teaching, has to be committed to the project and have an inordinate amount of time to spend both during the development and post-development, as I'll get to later. Secondly, the professor needs to rethink how he or she teaches. You know, gone are the days of just writing on a chalkboard or whiteboard or projecting a computer screen. When it comes to developing an online class, you really have to think non-linearly, especially in incorporating the multimedia learning objects. And then lastly here, the subject matter expert needs to have the support of their administration, not only their department head, but their dean and all the way up the chain. The other 4 team members kind of come from the same IT department. We have the instructional designer, kind of the project manager and editor of the whole thing. He or she is the one guiding the development and the implementation and the evaluation. There's the graphic designer who's responsible for creating all the images. In fact, the authors state that the visuals set the tone for the entire student learning experience, which I absolutely agree. The programmer, this is more the code-based person, the person who's going to code in Java and Perl and SQL, a lot of the background coding, database development. And then the web developer works more on the front end, the GUIs, the graphic user interfaces, using things such as Dreamweaver and Flash. Why did I give the subject matter a pink color and the other 4 a green color? Because usually in a best case scenario, what we see is there's a professor and 1 other person. We have the pink person, and then these green roles are usually wrapped up into 1 in higher ed in terms of the coding and developing the course. All right, what else goes into the online course? Well, we've got time and effort. In fact, a ton of time and effort. Kathy Davidson, a well-known author and professor at Duke, says making a Coursera course is 150 hours prep for every screen hour. Now, Coursera is one of the MOOCs that's being created from a lot of prestigious universities, and she is making her first course, and this is something she tweeted just the other day. What else is involved in the time and effort? Well, like I said, the subject matter expert has to really change how they teach. Rather than doing these 50-minute lectures or 75-minute lectures, you have to chunk your information into bits and pieces, usually 8 to 12 minutes in length, and then you have to write and develop these learning objects or multimedia objects that enhance the text along the way to promote and foster student learning and engagement. So what's my overall take from a negative standpoint? What do I think the authors maybe left out? Well, my experience as I am developing an online course with college algebra, I am a team of 1. I am the subject matter expert, I'm the instructional designer, I am a very poor graphic designer and programmer, and I do okay as a multimedia author, but the point is there's just 1 of me. There's not this beautiful team of 5, which I would welcome and love. Questions are arising about intellectual property ownership, especially with MOOCs like Coursera. Not only who owns the teacher content, but who owns the student content. Secondly, time management post-development. While the authors do mention an ebb and flow of email and the advantages of using a fact page, I would argue, as I'm again going through College Algebra Online this summer, that I am spending more time answering questions via email, Skype, social media, Blackboard discussion boards than I would face-to-face. And then lastly, professor in sound pedagogy, and I question it here because I look around me at the university I'm at the science teachers, the math teachers, the computer science teachers, and I question how many already use sound pedagogy. I think, unfortunately, that is something we see in higher ed, that we often have subject matter experts who don't know the first thing about how to teach and so much of the pedagogy that needs to go into the presentation. So I fear what would happen if they were left to write an online course.